he wanted to build a car, as he said, to kick their ass on the street, too. So this is Carroll Shelby's answer to Ferrari. There were rumors it was painted Ferrari red, that was his sort of to Ferrari.
Imagine the news about a mysterious car hidden inside Carroll Shelby's personal garage spread quickly through the collector world. Some people imagined a one-of-one Cobra. Others guessed it might be an unfinished Mustang project. A few even believed it could be a car Shelby never wanted anyone else to see. But before anyone could understand why that discovery mattered, they had to understand the man behind it. And his greatest story was only beginning. Shelby had already proven he could drive with the best in the world. His biggest moment came in 1959 when he won the legendary 24 Hours of Le Mans driving an Aston Martin. It was one of the toughest races on Earth, and that victory placed his name among the greatest racers of his generation. Yet even then, his health was becoming impossible to ignore. His heart condition forced him to make a painful choice. Racing had given him fame, but it could also cost him his life. For many drivers, that would have been the end. For Carroll Shelby, it became the start of something even bigger. Instead of chasing trophies from behind the wheel, Shelby decided to build cars that could win without him driving them. It sounded impossible. He had no giant factory and no endless budget. What he did have was a vision. He believed America had powerful V8 engines, while Europe had lightweight sports cars. What if those two ideas could become one machine? That simple question changed history. In the early 1960s, Shelby teamed up with the small British company AC Cars. He convinced them to send him a lightweight roadster without an engine. Then he persuaded Ford to supply a powerful V8. The result became the Shelby Cobra, a car that looked elegant but delivered breathtaking speed. Almost overnight, it became one of the most feared sports cars in the world. But that success created an even bigger challenge. Ferrari was dominating international racing. Many believed no American builder could seriously compete with the famous Italian brand. Shelby disagreed. Working alongside Ford, he became a key figure in the effort to defeat Ferrari on the world's biggest racing stages. The battle demanded years of testing, sleepless nights, and countless failures before success finally arrived. Before we reveal how that rivalry changed Shelby forever, make sure you subscribe. The next part uncovers one of the most dramatic battles in racing history, and how that victory may also explain why Shelby kept certain cars far away from public view. When Ford finally defeated Ferrari at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1966 with the GT40 program, it became one of the greatest moments in motorsport history. Shelby's leadership and relentless problem-solving played a major role in making that dream possible. A story documented in racing records, interviews with team members, and books about the Ford-Ferrari rivalry. By now, Carroll Shelby wasn't just a former race driver. He had become a symbol of American performance. His name appeared on Cobras, Mustangs, and racing programs around the world. Collectors dreamed of owning anything connected to him. Yet success also brought something unexpected. Shelby constantly experimented. He tested new ideas, modified existing cars, and sometimes built vehicles simply because he wanted to see what was possible. Not every project reached a showroom. Not every prototype was announced. Some remained personal. Some disappeared from public view. And according to people who worked closely with him, Shelby often held on to special vehicles for reasons known only to him. That brings us back to the locked garage. When its doors finally opened, the mystery wasn't just about finding another old car. The real question was why Carroll Shelby had kept this one. And the answer would surprise even his biggest fans. By the mid-1960s, Carroll Shelby had done what almost nobody thought was possible. He had gone from a retired race driver with a heart condition to one of the most respected names in the automotive world. His cars weren't just fast, they had personality. They were loud, raw, and built to win. But behind every success was a story of failure, pressure, and impossible deadlines that very few people ever saw. The Shelby Cobra had already become a legend. Then came another opportunity that would make Shelby's name even bigger. Ford wanted to turn its new Mustang into a true performance machine. The company knew the Mustang was selling well, but Shelby saw something more. He believed it could become a race-winning car without losing its everyday appeal. That vision became the Shelby GT350. His team stripped away unnecessary weight, upgraded the suspension, tuned the engine, and transformed an ordinary Mustang into a car that thrilled both drivers and racers. It didn't take long for the GT350 to dominate SCCA racing. Soon, Shelby's badge became a symbol of speed, power, and American engineering. Every victory brought more attention. Collectors wanted his cars. Drivers wanted to race them. Manufacturers wanted to work with him. Shelby had become more than a builder. He had become a brand. But success came with a hidden cost. Running high-performance programs meant endless testing, expensive experiments, and constant pressure to stay ahead of the competition. Shelby was known for changing ideas overnight if he believed he had found a better solution. Engineers who worked with him often described him as demanding but brilliant. He expected perfection because he knew racing rewarded only the very best. And that's where the mystery begins to make more sense. Shelby wasn't the kind of man who threw away interesting ideas. If a project failed, he often learned from it. If a prototype showed promise, he sometimes kept it close. Former employees and automotive historians have noted that Shelby's workshops occasionally housed development cars, test vehicles, and personal favorites that never became household names. Many people watching right now may be facing a challenge that feels impossible. Shelby's journey is a reminder that one setback doesn't have to define your future. His racing career ended earlier than he wanted, but instead of giving up, he built an entirely new legacy. Sometimes the door that closes pushes you towards something even greater. That mindset may also explain why certain cars remained with him instead of being sold. After Shelby's passing in 2012, attention naturally turned to the vehicles he had owned personally. Auctions, museums, and private collectors all searched for pieces of his history. Most of the famous cars were already well documented. But whispers continued about lesser-known vehicles that had rarely, if ever, been seen by the public. Then came the moment that fueled years of speculation. When people gained access to parts of Shelby's personal collection, reports and stories began circulating about an unusual vehicle tucked away from the spotlight. Depending on the source, it was described as a development car, a unique prototype, or a heavily modified project that never reached production. While many of the dramatic claims shared online remain unverified, the discovery highlighted a real truth about Carroll Shelby. He constantly experimented, and not every experiment became public. That distinction matters. The mystery isn't necessarily that a magical, lost Shelby appeared overnight. It's that even decades after his greatest achievements, new pieces of his story can still emerge from garages, archives, and private collections. Each discovery reminds fans that history is rarely as complete as we think. And one final question remained unanswered. If this hidden vehicle wasn't built for fame, why did Carroll Shelby keep it so close for so many years? The answer says more about the man than it does about the car itself. By now, one thing had become clear. The greatest mystery was never just the car. It was the man who chose to keep it. When stories about the vehicle inside Carroll Shelby's personal garage began spreading, many headlines made it sound as if someone had uncovered a forgotten million-dollar treasure that would rewrite automotive history. But the truth was more interesting and far more human. Carroll Shelby rarely looked at a car as just a product. To him, every vehicle told a story. Some represented victories. Others reminded him of failures that taught valuable lessons. A few were deeply personal, connected to moments that only he fully understood. People who worked with Shelby often described him as someone who never stopped thinking about the next idea. Even after building world-famous cars, he continued sketching designs, testing parts, and discussing future projects. Retirement wasn't really part of his vocabulary. That helps explain why certain vehicles stayed in his possession. Some were engineering test beds. Others carried custom modifications that never reached production. A few existed simply because Shelby wanted to answer a question no one else had asked. They weren't always meant for showrooms or racetracks. Sometimes they were built for curiosity alone. Automotive historians and collectors who have studied Shelby's estate point out that while many of his famous cars were carefully documented, smaller projects and development vehicles often received far less attention. Over time, memories faded, paperwork disappeared, and stories became legends. That's how myths are born. The mysterious garage discovery became one of those myths. Depending on who told the story, the hidden vehicle was described as a forgotten prototype, a personal experiment, or an extremely rare Shelby project. What can be said with confidence is that Shelby's workshops and personal collection did include unique cars that reflected his constant drive to innovate. However, many of the more dramatic claims shared online have never been confirmed by official records. Ironically, that uncertainty is exactly what keeps the story alive. Sometimes history doesn't leave us with perfect answers. Instead, it leaves clues. Every newly discovered document, photograph, or vehicle adds another piece to the puzzle, allowing future generations to better understand the people who shaped the automotive world. And maybe that's the biggest lesson Carroll Shelby left behind. His true legacy wasn't a single Cobra, a GT350, or even a hidden car tucked away in a garage. It was his willingness to keep chasing better ideas, even when success was already guaranteed. He proved that passion doesn't end after one victory. It grows with every challenge. As car lovers continue searching old collections and forgotten workshops, there's always a chance another piece of Shelby's history will appear. Maybe another prototype. Maybe an old notebook. Maybe a photograph that changes what we thought we knew. But this wasn't the end of the story, because Shelby wasn't the only automotive legend whose private collection has surprised the world. In our next documentary, we'll uncover another hidden chapter from the life of a racing icon, one that stayed buried for decades before finally coming to light.